It's the 13th of August, and this is your News Bite brought to you by eNCA.com. I'm Marcelle Gordon, and in your news today, the plot thickens as a sixth accused is added to the Emmanuel and Mbense murder case, Parliament launches a gang violence inquiry, and Banyana's World Cup hopes hang in the balance. There's been a further twist in the murder of Emmanuel and Mbense. A sixth accused has now been added to the case, and it's Joan Maria Ekstein, the wife of Viandre Pretorius, the police informant implicated in the Madlanga Commission. You may remember that Viandre died by suicide back in February. Now his wife has appeared in the Brakpan Magistrates Court, along with suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and 4 other accused, as they all applied for bail. The state has opposed bail, classifying the case as a Schedule 6 murder. Mbense was allegedly tortured and killed at his Brakpan home in April of 2022 and his body dumped in a dam near Duduza. Here's the prosecutor, Nceba Telwa.
Currently, 4 of the 13 had died from bullet wounds, including Marius, fondly known as Witness D, who allegedly died in the hands of a well-trained marksman. Therefore, the accused are guilty of the following offences. That is murder, count 1, count 2 is robbery with aggravating circumstances, count 3 is defeating or obstructing the edge of or abusing of justice.
At the same time, the DA is calling on the Ekurhuleni Metro to fast-track Mkhwanazi's disciplinary hearing. They say it's unfair that he's continuing to receive a salary while he's been on suspension for over 6 months. As gang-related killings continue to dominate headlines, Parliament is launching an inquiry into gang violence. In the most recent incidents, 11 people were killed and 2 injured in 3 separate shootings in Langa, Gugulethu and Khayelitsha down in the Cape. And in Johannesburg, 4 people, including 2 cops, were killed in Rege Park. Government has tried various interventions, including the recent deployment of soldiers under Operation Prosper. And now the Police Portfolio Committee is wanting to try and find a solutions-driven way to fight the scourge. Committee Chair Ian Cameron says it's vital that families and communities are involved in the inquiry.
We want them to share how they think the crisis needs to be resolved. The most important part to me is that they are on board with us trying to scrutinize and take on this crisis. I think, it becomes quite arrogant every time a new strategy or something is announced, but the very community suffering from this aren't part of the process. And I think this is an opportunity for them to be part of the discussion, to share their lived reality. And I think it's also important that they're not just seen as statistics. People speak about gang violence sometimes as, it's just another murder, it's just another gang murder. But, the trauma and the impact that it has on an entire family every time, on an entire community really is significant. They live in totally abnormal circumstances. So this is an opportunity for us to acknowledge that and use that as building the foundation for this gang inquiry process.
Gauteng police have intensified their fight against gang violence in Eldorado Park this week. Police Commissioner Tommy Mtumbeni led Operation Chanela there on Thursday.
As we know for the fact, the prevalent of the gangs in these areas, it's the gangs like Varados, fast guns. Unlike in Rege Park, you're having Vatos, Locus, and Sour Boys. We are trying to get a sense of other information with our crime intelligence if there are other groupings for the gangs. But I must just indicate that we are in this space in ensuring that the communities are and they feel safe.
Days of protest by students at CPUT seems to have paid off. The Tertiary Institutions Council has withdrawn its controversial 2027 draft financial recovery plan, which triggered the protests. The main point of contention being a proposal that students would have to pay up to 7,000 rand just to start the year. Tensions remained high, with violence reported at the Bellville campus on Wednesday night and a security vehicle set alight at the campus in Wellington. CPUT says the withdrawal will allow for further consultation. Meanwhile, Higher Education Minister Buti Manyamelwa says isolated incidents should not be used to tarnish the reputation of all TVET colleges. It follows a recent oversight visit by members of parliament to several of these colleges, where an HR manager was found to have no qualifications when he got the job at one of them, and lecturers were also found teaching without the appropriate qualifications or expertise.
We should not drive a perception on the basis of an incident that happened at one college and which we say that will, act on it. There are 50 TVET colleges in this country. There are 500,000 students who are going into these TVET colleges. Most of those young people, are in trades that will lead them to employment. Most of those young people are linked to occupational trades and into industry. We have very competent lecturers and very competent officials who are running our TVET colleges. That does not mean that there are those TVET colleges where there are challenges, but and all of those should drive us towards ensuring that the reforms which we intend for the entirety of the TVET system, for the TVET system to become this viable alternative. I think that's important.
Authorities have yet to identify the bodies of 14 suspected illegal miners who died when rubble collapsed at an open-cast mine in Marikana in the northwest. They're urging community members to help identify the victims, but locals say they've been living in fear since illegal mining began there 2 years ago. Meanwhile, the new General Mining Laws Amendment Bill is being touted as a key intervention to curb illegal mining by tabling harsher punishment for those found guilty. Here's Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamoloko Kubai.
What the CPA does in a nutshell, or the amendment there, it criminalizes now illicit or illegal mining, which previously it was not a criminal offense, but now it criminalizes it. And then the Diamond Act's amendments that are there are increasing penalties. You'll note there, we're moving from a fine of 250 to a fine of 100 million, and also moving from a 10 years of imprisonment to 30 years of imprisonment.
Now, lawyers for human rights have welcomed the proposed legislative changes, but warn that enforcement should not focus solely on the so-called zamazamas, who are often driven by poverty and unemployment. Here's Mametlwe Sebe.
You are talking here of hundreds of billions, right, that are lost to illicit trade in minerals from properly licensed mining companies, right? Through, invoicing where your mother company in UK, basically buy on deliberately undervalued minerals from their local, and they take most of their minerals out of the country in that manner, losing the taxpayers, losing, workers, wages that are missing from the negotiations, but also communities that are not getting value from the extraction of minerals and exploitation of their labor by the mining companies and so on. I don't see that being addressed adequately with specifics in this legislation.
The bitter cold has dominated conversations across the country this week. Now imagine being stuck at the top of Sentinel Peak in the Drakensberg. Well, that's exactly what happened to 5 people who were stranded there after heavy snow cut them off. With conditions deteriorating and their supplies running low, a daring search and rescue team battled through the treacherous terrain to reach them, bringing them safely off the mountain. Carl Nesbitt tells us more.
The 5 people were trapped there from Monday night when the heavy snowfall hits the greater area and I suppose the rest of the country. So they were trapped there for 2 days and we were notified of their condition. They had very little warm weather gear and dry weather gear, as well as their food supplies had basically were depleted during the course of yesterday. So we executed a rescue which consisted of SARSA from Gauteng, SARSA from Free State, and then a team as well from ER24 made up of paramedics that joined the team. We set up a forward base of operations at the Woodsies Hook Mountain Lodge, where we had an initial team that was deployed there, and then we sent 3 rescue vehicles equipped with snow chains along this pass to Sentinel parking, as well as a Sherp rescue vehicle, which is an all-terrain vehicle and really designed to navigate through extremely difficult and rough terrain, such as what the team experienced last night during this rescue.
In other news we're keeping an eye on, President Cyril Ramaphosa has extended his condolences to the government and people of Zimbabwe. 44 people died when a ferry capsized on Lake Kariba on the border with Zambia. Ramaphosa wished the survivors a speedy recovery and paid tribute to emergency services there. And it's election day in Zambia, with incumbent President Hakainde Hichilema seeking a second term in office. Concerns over the economy and the rising cost of living could dent his support, though. The ongoing feud between the president and the family of the late Edgar Lungu has continued to be a talking point during the campaign as well. The president is facing an alliance of opposition parties led by first-time candidate Brian Mundabile. And onto the world of sports now. And Orlando Pirates coach Abdeslam Wadu has told his players to pull up their socks after their league draw with AmaZulu. The Buccaneers missed the chance to move level with log leaders Kaizer Chiefs after being held at Kings Park Stadium.
And if we have to talk about us, it's okay. The season is long, but we need to wake up. Some players have to really to wake up quickly. Okay, I have to give credit to CBC, to Shine. Of course, they went to the World Cup and they are playing every games, you know. But the other ones, they need to wake up, because me, I don't have time. They need really to wake up, because now it's an emergency.
And Banyana midfielder Gabriela Mudeli Salgado says the team knows what they're up against when they take on Nigeria's Super Falcons at 10 p.m. on Thursday night. After failing to reach the AFCON semi-finals that comes with automatic World Cup qualification, they now have to try and qualify for the Interconfederation playoffs to keep their hopes alive.
You know, there's a lot of expectations for us to qualify, and as Banyana, we always go out onto the field and give our very best for 90 minutes or 90 minutes plus. We always give in 100%, you know, and yes, it's been a bumpy road, but it's not over yet. We just have to believe that if we play our best football on the day, we should win. But as I said, it's 90 minutes, you know, anything can happen. We just have to be more hungry than the next team. It's going to be a very, very demanding game, physically and mentally. But I believe that as Banyana, we are ready for this challenge.
And that's how we wrap today's News Bite. For developments in these and more, keep an eye on eNCA.com and DSTV channel 403.